Welcome to Study Break, a recurring podcast featuring discussions on sports, music, TV, movies, and more. Today, we are happy to have New Media Lab members Raymond Porras and David Scanlon, who will be talking with the president of the Video Game and Anime Club, Jack Lawson, and the vice president, Kevin Leahy. They are excited to discuss the biggest video game releases of 2023, with a focus on titles available for the Nintendo Switch. Enjoy the show.
Hello to all our listeners. This is your host, Raymond Porras, and I am joined by my co-host, David Scanlon.
Hi, Ray. Thank you for having me today.
And today we are joined by the president of the Video Game and Anime Club, Jack Lawson.
Hey, what's up? Nice to meet you.
And the vice president of the Video Game and Anime Club, Kevin Leahy.
Hi, Ray. Thank you for having me as well.
And today we are going to be talking about 2023 video game releases with a focus on those available on the Nintendo Switch. So there were really a lot of games that came out this year, but I think the first game that I'm going to hand off to David is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
All right. First up is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I personally have not played this game, but I've heard a lot of great things about it, and I'm excited to hear what you guys think about this game. So I wanted to start off and ask Kevin, what was your favorite part of the game?
Thank you, David. One of the things I liked most about the game was the outfits they had in the game. Some of my favorite outfits were Fierce Deity set and the Armor of the Hero set.
Yeah, any of those like classic outfits were probably one of my favorites. But do you guys have like any other outfits that stood out to you?
Yeah, Raymond. I think personally, I love a lot of the outfits in Tears of the Kingdom, especially a lot of them are references to older Zelda games. And one of those is the Awakening set, which is literally just a reference to Link's Awakening, and especially the remake, which also looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about because it's more like a cartoony look for the character, which I really enjoy when they do that, when it's like in a game that's as detailed as Tears of the Kingdom, and you have like an outfit that looks like a cartoon character, like
Yeah.
Almost like 2D and everything.
So out of place, but it's also like really cool to like play the whole game with it on. It's really fun.
Yeah, thank you, Jack.
Of course.
Now, Kevin, I have a question for you again. For a beginner like me with the Zelda games, as I'm not too familiar with them, where would you recommend that I start when I'm playing such a big open game like this?
That's a good question, David. I would recommend for new players to not rush it off the tutorial islands because it's similar to its predecessor, Breath of the Wild, where some players rush to get off the Great Plateau and they face tougher enemies that they're not ready to face yet.
One thing that I noticed in this game compared to Breath of the Wild is traveling is a lot easier because you have so many different options with all these new mechanics. So yeah, Kevin and Jack, if you guys want to talk about some of the new mechanics that are in this game.
Yeah, Raymond, I think the mechanics in Tears of the Kingdom have been like vastly expanded from Breath of the Wild. Honestly, it makes the original game makes it feel inferior, but the original game's still like great. Obviously, it's a masterpiece, but Tears of the Kingdom feels like an even bigger masterpiece. The gust ability is amazing, considering the whole open air and the drop, like the dropping from the sky mechanics. Like they're all really good. It makes traverse a lot more fun than the original, while providing a lot more interesting ways to actually play, like especially with like the time stopping and whatnot.
Yeah, so I hope, David, that you eventually play it because it is really worth the experience. Moving on to our next big Nintendo game of the year, I would say one thing that I wasn't expecting to come out because it was revealed a little bit later in the year, like around the summer, was Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And for me personally, as a Mario fan, I gotta say I was really surprised by this game, especially since I haven't played a lot of 2D Mario games lately, but this really breathed a lot of new life into a forgotten part of Mario. So do you guys have, Jack or Kevin, any thoughts about this new Mario?
Yeah, Raymond. One of the things I like about the Mario Wonder is that they introduced to the Wonder Flowers and badges.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, some of those badges, they're really useful at, like, playing however you prefer to play, instead of, like, sticking to one mechanic that's, like, everyone has to stick to. I also do like some of the references, especially in the music, which is also a very important part in this game, surprisingly. Has lots of references there's references to Mario Sunshine, Super Mario World, and a bunch of other references, especially even with the Wonder Flower having a reference to Mario 64. Going back to the music, though, I feel like I really didn't expect it to have like such an important part, because there's levels where you have to jump to the beat, and even comes into play like during the final boss and everything. But I feel like that's something that me personally, I'm not the best at with rhythm, but it was still at a level that I could keep up with.
Kevin, since you're so familiar with the Mario games as well, I wanted to ask if you personally think this game is more challenging than some Marios in the past.
Thank you, David. There are some levels that are harder than previous games near the end of the game. There is one where it's the final badge trial, which includes all the badges into one level.
Yeah, I was kind of familiar with that one. I struggle with that one too, but once you finish that level, it's very rewarding, just like all these Mario levels. But there's also many power-ups that make these hard levels like a lot easier. So it's really just finding like the best power-up that you can find for a specific level. But do you guys have any favorite power-ups from the game that stand out to you?
Yeah, Raymond. One power-up that stood out to me during the game was the bubble flower.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. I found a lot of use with that, especially using it against enemies, which just puts them in a bubble and makes them disappear. Not sure the logistics of that, but I feel like it's very useful in the game. And Jack, do you have a power up for you?
Yeah, Raven. Honestly, I was just gonna go with the bubble power up again. With the little I've played, it's probably one of my favorites because it has a lot of like utility purposes, along with being like really fun, being like literally like throwing bubbles. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I would say mine is probably the elephant, just because like the iconity of him being an elephant is just like so funny, and also just like there's a lot of usefulness in that too, with like breaking platforms and stuff. But yeah, I also agree with you that just like it's a very very well put together game. And yeah, transitioning to our next game, Dave, do you want to take that?
For our next game, it is a third-party game that not only came out on Switch, but PlayStation 5 and Xbox as well, as Hogwarts Legacy. This game is a prequel to the movies and books. It's set many years before. So I wanted to ask Kevin, what was your favorite part of this game?
Thank you, David. One of my favorite parts about the game is that it's an open world game, along with the many spells you can learn.
Me personally, I've only played just like a little bit, but even so, like I feel like I'm very invested in the story and very immersed in the Hogwarts world and everything. It feels very faithful to the books and movies. And David, I'm pretty sure you've played it too. Do you have any favorite parts that you like from the game?
Me personally, I also liked just how open this game was. It allows you to explore things that stray away from the main storyline of the game, so you don't have to follow a strict path. And I would recommend going off and doing your own thing as well, instead of just going straight ahead, because it allows you to unlock different things to help you along the path and make playing the main storyline much easier. I like how well this game was put together in terms of open world.
I do have a question for everyone here, though. Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, or Slytherin? I will say, for me in the game, I ended up being a Hufflepuff. Which I wasn't expecting when I was getting the Sorting Hat part of the game. I didn't expect that question to determine it, but I was like, you know what? I'll stick with it. It fits. Because you do get the option to change it if you want to in that moment. But Kevin, starting with you, were you happy with the assignment that you got for your house for Hogwarts?
Thank you, Raymond. Yes, I was fine with what the Sorting Hat gave me, which made me a Hufflepuff.
I see a fellow Hufflepuff. And then, Jack, even though you haven't played, do you know kind of like which house you might be in if you had to choose one?
Raymond, honestly, I've taken way too many Sorting Hat quizzes online, and consistently I have gotten into Hufflepuff. So, I guess I guess we're just a Hufflepuff squad.
Yeah, it all comes down to David. What are you?
Not to piggyback off of you guys, but I actually took the route Jack took, and I did an online test before I took the test in the game. So I went online, did a sorting hat quiz, and I got Hufflepuff as well, When I did the test in the game, though, I don't believe I got Hufflepuff, and I switched it because I wanted to stick to what I got on the test. So that brings 4 of us as Hufflepuffs.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that makes sense then. So now transitioning to our 4th game, because this year has been like very big for AAA games that take out a lot from your wallet, honestly. I feel like having some of those indie games are good for exploring like smaller games or honestly cheaper games. But we wanted to see if any of you guys had any indie games from 2023 that you'd like to highlight.
Yeah, Raymond. If I had any game to choose, there were a lot of indie games of last year that were amazing. I think my take would be Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which it released on Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox, and as well computer. It's a love letter to the Jet Set Radio franchise, which released all the way back in the Sega Dreamcast. It's a game beloved by a lot of people, including myself.
Jack, could you give us an explanation as to what Jet Set Radio is?
Sure, David, absolutely. Jet Set Radio was a wonderfully funky game with a beautiful art style of graffiti and street art, and a lot of passion was put into it back in the day. Has lovely music created by Naganuma, who is a legend. And he also appears in Bomb Rush Cyberpunk for some of the game's greatest tracks.
And it seems like all these things translate into Bomb Rush Cyberpunk in like a new reimagining of that game, if I'm correct.
Yeah, absolutely, Raymond. Feels like Bomb Rush is just Jet Set Radio, but like reimagined in such a wonderful way. But Bomb Rush Cyberpunk actually expands upon the gameplay, and it makes it really fun. It's basically like a combination, I'd say, of like Tony Hawk Pro Skater mixed like maybe like more parkour games, like maybe like Mirror's Edge, I think.
Yeah, well that sounds great. I might have to check out that game. So now, transitioning a little bit out of games to DLC or downloadable content add-ons for some of the games. One of the biggest things that started the year before but ended in 2023 is the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass, which added a bunch of new content to Mario Kart 8 and really just like revamped the game with doubling the courses and adding new characters, new costumes for your customizable Mii characters. But Kevin, do you have any favorite parts of the Booster Course Pass?
Yes, Raymond, I do. One of the courses that I liked in the booster pack was the Wii Rainbow Road that came out in Wave 6.
Yeah. For me personally, my favorite course would have to be the Yoshi Island course, which is just like so faithful with so many references to the original games. But there's things for all Mario Kart fans and everything. All right, well, it looks like we're about ready to wrap up, and I wanted to ask everyone before we go on their final thoughts, either on 2023 as a whole or looking forward to 2024. We'll start with Jack.
I loved 2023 as a year for the gaming industry. It was stellar. There were a lot of successful big indie games, and Nintendo certainly, I think, has really gotten back on track to knowing what their fans want. And that also kind of exceeds 2024, which I think Kevin will probably know a lot more about than I will.
Yeah, stuff I'm looking forward to is the new games that would come out, like remakes.
Me personally, I'm looking forward to play Paper Mario. It's a game I've been looking forward to for the last couple months, and I'm excited to hopefully get a chance to try it out.
Really, for me, looking forward into the very distant future, Metroid Prime 4. Whether it comes out on the current Switch console or the next console, we will see. But really, I just feel like there's a lot of potential right now for the future of Nintendo. So we will be looking forward to that. But with that, I would like to close out this episode and just thank everyone for being here. I feel like this was a very fun, interesting conversation, and I hope that anyone listening is inspired to play some of these games. And we're going to just have everyone say goodbye, starting with David.
I just wanted to say thank you, Ray, for having me today, and thank you, Kevin and Jack, for joining us as well.
And then, Kevin, do you have any final thoughts?
I wanted to say thank you, Ray. I'm glad that you have me, and I enjoyed having this discussion.
And then, Jack?
Thank you to both of you for letting us come on to your podcast and talk about things that we really like.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate it. And here's to the game industry and gaming as a whole.
Yep. All right.
Here's to 2024.
All right, and thank you to all our listeners. And with that, we're out.
You've been listening to Study Break, brought to you by the New Media Lab and the Office of Athletics and Campus Engagement. Today's hosts and producers were Raymond Porras and David Scanlon. Our guests today were Jack Lawson and Kevin Leahy. Our co-executive producers were Raymond Porras and Lushonda Stevens. Sark John Osjan prepared our title cards and Raymond Porras edited this episode. Victoria Colbreth and Samuel Larson designed our cover art. The theme music was composed by Indigo Frazier. And I am Andrew Wilkins, your announcer for this episode. Special thanks to the Director of the Office of Athletics and Campus Engagement, Allison Gleason, and our Faculty Advisor, Professor Maria Boyd. If you have interest in participating in the New Media Lab, contact the Office of Athletics and Campus Engagement or reach out to us on Instagram at DCCC_New Media Lab. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video. Thank you for listening.